Merhabalar herkese. Hepiniz IELTS Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Birleşik Krallık Üniversiteleri arasında 6. sırada olan University of Warwick'te eğitim hakkında öğrenmeniz gereken tüm detayları Hayley'den dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı soru cevap bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Hayley, the stage is yours now.
Thank you. Okay, hopefully that's sharing my screen. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Kaylee and I'm here from the University of Warwick today in the UK. I'm hopefully going to be able to give you a lot of information about our wonderful university and what you can expect if you decide to apply to study with us, or perhaps just want to ask some questions, then you can do that as well. There is a Q&A at the bottom, or a chat room. So if you want to pop any questions in there, please feel free to do that and I'll answer them at the end. So I'll get started now with the slides.
It's time for change.
Hayley, we cannot see the presentation.
Get ready.
Okay, I'll stop and start again.
Yes.
Don't fear.
How about now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, let's start again.
It's time for change.
So get ready.
Don't fear the future.
Embrace it. Join a community.
Where your voice matters.
Learn from experts.
Choose your own path.
Change your world.
Change the world.
Prepare for anywhere.
Belong here, go anywhere.
Okay, so hopefully that gave you a little glimpse into the University of Warwick. You could see some of our facilities there, and it's just a little window into what it's like to be a student at the University of Warwick. I wanted to start with a few numbers. So you might be thinking about rankings when you look at universities in the UK or even across other destinations in the world as well. So firstly, I'll draw your attention to the bottom left of the screen. So you can see that we are 9th in the UK in The Guardian. So in the UK, everybody uses 3 major league tables. You have The Guardian, you have the Sunday Times, and you have the Complete University Guide. Warwick is in the top 10 in all 3 of those major league tables. And league tables look at things like teaching quality, research quality. They look at student to staff ratios. They look at how well students are doing in their degrees. They look at sustainability of universities, and they look at employability as well as a lot of other things, actually. But yeah, so it's fantastic to know that Warwick is in the top 10 of all 3 of the UK's league tables. And then if we go to the top right, sadly, it looks like my slides moved a little bit, but we are top 100 in the world in the QS University rankings. So we are 69th this year in the QS rankings. So that means that of all of the universities in the world, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, and that Warwick is ranked in the top 100. At the bottom right, you can see about our societies and sports clubs as well. So I'm going to give you a lot more detail about this later, but this is a really important part of Warwick students' lives because we are a campus university. So students do tend to get really involved in our sports and our societies. If you didn't know what courses we offer at Warwick, you can get an idea now. So we have 3 faculties that you can see. So you have the arts, you have sciences, and you have social sciences. And you can see under each of those columns that you've got all the different departments and the different schools are all listed there. So hopefully you can spot a subject that might be of interest to you. Of course, you're probably aware Warwick is very well known for things like its business school, as well as maths, perhaps, computer science, politics and engineering, but we do have a lot of other programmes as well. And within these courses, you might choose to do a 3-year undergraduate degree, or perhaps a 4-year if you want to add in a placement year and get some work experience or study abroad. And then you can also do a master's at Warwick. So you might already be doing your undergraduate degree, looking at the future and doing some postgraduate study with us. And we even have PhDs as well. So lots to think about in terms of what sort of course you might like to do at Warwick. In terms of our entry requirements, this is the bit where you need to be really realistic if you choose to apply to the University of Warwick, because we do have really competitive and selective programmes. So when you apply to the courses on the screen, for example, you are up against potentially thousands of other applicants who are just looking for a couple of hundred spaces to be filled. So here you've got Turkish entry requirements, and this is specific to those who are currently at high school and looking to go to our undergraduate degrees. So as you can see, I put economics on there because it is a really popular choice for students to study at the University of Warwick, and it's also really highly ranked. So you can see if you're studying the International Baccalaureate, which perhaps some of you are, we would be looking at 39 IB points overall, and then you can see that there are some higher levels that you would also need to achieve. So you can see there's 3 6s that you would need to get. And also there is an optional TMUA maths test that you would need to do as well. But don't worry, if you're doing the Turkish diploma, we also accept that from a list of approved high schools across Turkey. And for economics, we'd be looking for an overall of 88%, and that's a minimum that we'd be looking for. And you'd need to achieve well in your maths as well for that. I'm not going to read through all of these because you can get a good idea just by looking at the slide, but you can just see that it's kind of really different depending on the course that you're interested in. And typically, the more competitive a course is, the harder those entry requirements are. Of course, we do also accept things like APs if you're doing those at school. Typically, we're looking at 4s and 5s depending on the course that you're interested in. And if you are an undergraduate student wanting to apply for a postgraduate master's at Warwick, then you can check out the website for details on what you would need to get in, because again, that depends on the course. But you could ask me at the end as well, and I can look it up for you. So if you didn't know, we already do have a lot of Turkish students at Warwick, and I can tell you that we've got 164 currently across all different programmes. So you can see that we've got 6 students doing our foundation year. We've got 97 students doing their undergraduate bachelor's degree. We've got 39 master's students, and we've got 22 doing PhD. So it's a really good split of different subjects and different level of study. Also, it's not just this year that we have Turkish students. We have welcomed students from Turkey for many years. So now we have over 1,000 alumni from Turkey, and most of them have gone back to Istanbul at some point. And so, you know, if you want to connect with some alumni from the University of Warwick, you would probably be able to do so. And there is actually a LinkedIn group for alumni in Turkey that exists. And then you can see on there as well some popular graduate destinations of graduates from Turkey. So you've got Deloitte, Turkish Airlines, and Unilever as well, are all mentioned more than a few times when our graduates get in touch with us to let us know what are you doing since you've graduated from the University of Warwick. Okay, so moving on to let you know a bit about our beautiful campus. So it's 750 acres in size. So it is very big. Realistically, it could take you quite a long time to walk from one side to the other. But the bits that you'll need to see and use when you're at campus, it's all really easy walking distance around the central campus to get from your accommodation to your teaching buildings or perhaps your social activities. This one doesn't have any sound, so don't worry, you're not missing anything. But this is a bird's eye view of our wonderful campus, and you can see that it's a good mixture of modern buildings and then also lots of green spaces as well. So you have your department buildings and your social buildings in the middle of the campus, and then the accommodation is all around the outside or the outskirts of the campus. So it's all purpose built for you, and absolutely everything on the campus has been designed and built with students in mind. So that being said, we do have a bar, or at least one. I think we've got 2 bars on campus and a 2-floor nightclub as well, which is quite often used by our undergraduate students, where, you know, they can meet friends and have a nice time. Then we've also got across campus 12 different places to eat and drink. So that might be a coffee shop, a cafe, but we also have other bigger restaurants as well, including a brand new buffet restaurant, which is really nice. And this picture here is taken inside our Warwick Art Centre. And this is quite a modern restaurant, but just again, a really nice place where you can meet with your friends if you want to have a break, perhaps from cooking your own meals. We've also got a small supermarket on campus, which is really great for you to pick up bits and bobs that you might need for the week. But we also have 2 much bigger supermarkets within walking distance of campus, and students quite often will have their groceries delivered to their accommodation on campus as well. That's also possible. So I mentioned already the green spaces, but we do have a lot of nature on campus. We don't want to build on everything. So even though we do have just under 30,000 students studying at Warwick now, and that's a mixture of undergraduates and postgraduates, we do want to keep lots of those open green spaces so that, you know, you can go and sit with your friends in the nature. We've got some students here in this picture feeding the ducks and the geese, which you'll see a lot on campus. But it just adds to the environment, and it's quite a nice, peaceful place to live, particularly in your first year or for your masters, if that's what you come to us for. One thing that not many universities are big enough to have is its very own ancient woodland. So we do have a 400-year-old woodland on our campus, and it looks like this right now because it's bluebell season. So you have beautiful bluebells. It's like a big carpet of them across the woodland, and it's just a nice place to go again and enjoy when you want to get away from perhaps your lectures and your studies for half an hour or so in the day. Another thing that you might not find at many university campuses is a weekly food market. Because we are a big campus, we're lucky enough to have the space to do this. So every single week on a Wednesday, you will have a food market in term time, and you can see how busy it gets, and you have different street food vendors from across the world, and they change quite often as well. So you can try different foods and you can meet your friends, and it's quite a nice social activity. And this is right in the middle of our campus, so right in the centre of campus near all the Students' Union buildings. So speaking of the Students' Union is responsible for all the fun things when you're at university pretty much. And every university in the UK has a Students' Union. So at Warwick, our Students' Union has societies and sports clubs. So I wanted to give you an idea of some of our societies, but we do have over 250 at Warwick to choose from. But these could be academic societies. So for example, if you're studying engineering, you might want to join the Engineering Society. Or if you're doing politics, you might want to join the Politics Society. But you also have cultural societies. So we do have a Turkish society, we have a Malaysian society, Chinese, you know, pretty much all of the nationalities are represented at the University of Warwick. And then you've got these ones here as well, which are for a bit of fun. So you've got Nintendo, you've got Bubble Tea Society, darts, photography, esports, comedy. So all sorts of different things that you could try out or perhaps carry on with a hobby that you do now that you enjoy. Then this is a little more about our Turkish society specifically. So they were kind enough to send me some photos. What I love about the Turkish society at Warwick is almost every single current student from Turkey is part of this society. So you might remember before I said that we've got 164 current students from Turkey. Well, around 150 of them are part of this society, which is really lovely to hear, you know, that everyone gets together and has a shared interest in keeping in touch with their roots and their home country. So the split is 110 undergraduates and 40 postgraduates, and they do a lot of different activities through the year. And here's quite a long list of different things that they will get involved in. I really encourage you to give them a follow on Instagram because they keep that up to date with the different activities that they do. But just as an example, they celebrate Republic Day, they do sports matches against other societies. They go for nights out, they have Raki nights, and they also have guest speakers come and speak, and they also attend events hosted by the Turkish Embassy in London. So a lot of fun things to get involved with, a good way to connect with other students from Turkey if you want to when you're at the University of Warwick. Then on to your sports club. So hopefully we've got a few sports men and women in the room. So we do have a lot of sports clubs at Warwick, and around 4,000 students every year get involved in our sports clubs. So you can see you've got everything from surfing to fencing to karate, netball, and of course ones that aren't on this screen but that are really quite popular in the UK, like football, rugby. And they're all really popular at the University of Warwick. So I really encourage you, whichever university you choose to go to get involved in some sports and some societies. It can really improve your university experience. It helps you to make friends. And also you could become what they call execs. So you have executives like the president, the vice president of a particular sports club or society. You might be the social person, or you might be the treasurer, depending on your skills. So that short video is about our sports facilities. So we have a huge sports and wellbeing hub on our campus, and hopefully you got a glimpse inside there. There's a climbing wall, there's a swimming pool, a huge fitness centre, lots of classes, and it's mostly used by Warwick students and staff. And it's really affordable as well in comparison to other local gyms, and it's right on campus. Okay, moving on. So in terms of your spaces across campus that you can learn in, or you can see these students in this photo here, they've just taken their laptops along to a study space on campus. And it's really typical of students to not feel like they have to be confined to one particular building at the University of Warwick. So for example, if you're studying as part of the Warwick Business School, of course you have the business school building, and of course you'll have your own spaces that are only accessible to you and other business school students, but you can access spaces all across the campus. So it's not just the library, there's other buildings and spaces that you can go and study in, other buildings that you might find yourself having lectures and seminars in. And that's so that you can enjoy the whole campus and not feel like you have to just stay in one or two buildings. Hopefully you can see from the pictures as well, it is very modern at Warwick. And this is our art centre. This is the outside. Inside of the art centre, you've got a theatre, you've got a cinema, you have our Butterworth Hall, which is where you have your graduation ceremony. It's a fantastic venue to celebrate once you've graduated from your degree. And in the art centre, there is the opportunity to work part-time, or you could just get a discounted ticket to go and see a show if you wanted to, or maybe a film in the cinema. And again, that's right in the centre of campus, just 30 seconds from the grocery store, the nightclub, the cafes. So everything is really central in campus and easy to get to. Okay, this next section is going to be about our accommodation and what you can expect if you choose to live on campus at the University of Warwick. We have 7,000 bedrooms available, and they're about 50-50 private bathroom, and then the other half are not private, so that you would share the bathroom with other housemates. So it would be up to you when you come to decide on what accommodation choice is for you. You can choose some ensuite options if that's your preference, or if you don't mind, you can choose the shared bathroom option. You can see in this photo here, it's inside the kitchen and dining area. So absolutely everyone at Warwick lives in self-catered accommodation, because that's the accommodation that we have at the University of Warwick. So we don't offer any catered options where you have dining and food included. You would need to either cook for yourself, or perhaps make friends with your housemates that know how to cook, or you could go to one of the many cafes or restaurants on campus to eat. This is some sliding, moving images now of some of the different accommodation options that we have. So as I say, we've got 7,000 bedrooms to choose from, and they're all different. They're different prices as well. You can check out the current costs on the Warwick web pages. I can share that link with you at the end. And you can see inside, they're a little different as well, depending on your budget and what you would prefer. In terms of our location and how you get around, obviously if you're living on the campus, you don't really need to leave too often. But if you wanted to get out and see some more of the UK, we are right in the middle of England, so it's really easy to get to other places. So firstly, of course, London, I'm sure a lot of you will be interested to visit perhaps for a weekend, and that's just 1 hour on the high-speed train from Coventry. So Coventry is the city that the University of Warwick's campus is based in. So it takes 10 minutes to get into Coventry City from our campus on the bus. And from there, you would take the train into London, and it takes just 1 hour right into London Euston, which is right in the centre. So like I say, Coventry City is the closest city to our campus. It's the 10th biggest city in England. It has everything you would expect. So we have a cathedral. We have another university, Coventry University. So there's a lot of students who live in Coventry. You've got lots of shopping, lots of nightlife, lots of restaurants, and there's a huge park as well. So more greenery if you like to go for walks. My favourite place nearby is Leamington Spa. That's just 20 to 25 minutes away on the bus from campus. Leamington is a more traditional British city in terms of its architecture. It's very pretty, lots of outdoor seating, lots of boutique shops and independent cafes, and that's a really popular option for Warwick students to live in their second and final year of their degrees, or some of our master's students choose to live there if they don't live on campus. And then you've also got Birmingham. You might have heard of Birmingham. That's just up the road, 25 minutes away on the train from Coventry. And that's where our closest airport is as well. And for you guys, if you're flying to Istanbul from Istanbul, there is a direct flight into Birmingham, which is really helpful with Turkish Airlines. So really easy to fly from Istanbul to Birmingham. And then you can jump in a taxi, which takes about 20 minutes from Birmingham Airport to the campus. So like I say, really easy to get around. So just a couple of images so you can see what I mean about the places nearby. On the left, you've got Coventry. So in that photo, you can see the Gothic cathedral that we have in the city, and they do different food festivals through the year and music concerts. And on the right is Leamington Spa, which I said is the more picturesque small town that's 20 minutes from campus. So you have choices for when you move off of campus, because generally most students will live on campus in their first year of their undergraduate degree. You don't have to, but I would encourage it. It makes your transition to the UK a lot easier. The same for master's students. I definitely recommend living on campus for your studies. This is where I tell you a bit about the difference in living costs. If this is of interest to you, it might not be a concern, but I know that it is for many students and their parents. So here we've got some comparisons where you can save some money by choosing Warwick over perhaps a university based in London. So firstly, accommodation. This is ensuite options that I looked at. So I went for like a middle ground one. So £221 per week for a bedroom with a private bathroom. And in London, it was £75 more expensive per week. For full transparency, the university that I looked at was UCL. The next one was the travel. This is where you can really save a lot of money by studying at Warwick, because it's a campus university. So the absolute most you will need to get around is a bus pass. So, you know, like I said, if you want to go into Coventry, and the bus pass for the whole year was £420 this year, and that's for unlimited travel. In London, for unlimited travel with a student Oyster pass, that is just under £3,000. So you can see it's a lot more expensive, particularly for those city-based universities where perhaps you live one side of London and then you need to get to the other for your lectures or your accommodation or to see friends. It can be a lot more costly to get around London on the underground and the buses. The next one was gym membership. Unfortunately, this one didn't go in my favour, and Warwick is actually a little bit more expensive. So by £18 a year, our gym membership was slightly more costly than those universities I looked at in London. But hopefully the video you saw earlier gives you a bit of a reason why. We have spent millions of pounds on our sports and wellbeing hub. Like I say, it's on campus. It's mostly only used by Warwick students and staff, so you don't have to share it with the rest of the city. And you've got that swimming pool as well as the fitness centre and everything else. So the facilities are completely state of the art and built just for you. The next one was a pint of beer, because, you know, students do go out to the pub quite a lot. So £3.53 was the cheapest I could find at Warwick, and it was £4.45 in London. So, you know, if you go out and socialise a lot, you could save money by being in Warwick. And then finally, you've got the food shop. So you can see It's about £40 cheaper monthly to do a food shop if you're in Warwick versus living in London. And then you've got NUS. I don't know if you've heard of NUS, but that's the National Union of Students. But they also agree with this, that there's estimate an average increased rent spend of around £1,200 per year when compared with the rest of the UK. So just really think when you're making your choices as to universities and where they are and if you can afford the living costs there. So talking about affordability, we do have some fantastic scholarships at the University of Warwick. So of course for this year, they're pretty much all closed. So if you wanted to apply for this year's study, it's unlikely there'd be any scholarships left. But if you're thinking about next year or the year after, then we most certainly will have scholarships available. So this is our Warwick Undergraduate Global Excellence Scholarship, and this is what we had available this year. So we did have some full fee scholarships. So 100% of your tuition fees would be paid if you were lucky enough to be awarded that. Then we had some 50% off tuition fee scholarships, and then we had some 25% off scholarships as well. To give you an idea, we have about 2,500 applications for our Warwick undergraduate scholarships every year, and around 250 are awarded. So, you know, that's a 1 in 10 chance of getting some type of scholarship. So I really recommend that if you do decide to apply to Warwick, that you also apply for our scholarship. It is a separate application for any scholarships usually. And you could see the terms and conditions on here for this year. It's probably going to change a little bit for next year. But again, I'll give you my contact details at the end. If you decide to apply, then, you know, next year I'm really happy to read your drafts of your scholarship essay if you want me to. Okay, before I just speak on this slide, I just want to let any postgraduates listening that we do have a lot of scholarships available for you as well. It just really depends on the course that you're interested in because it really differs by department. But for example, the Warwick Business School has scholarships for postgraduates wanting to do masters. I think engineering has a couple, law has a handful as well. So it really depends on the department. Some offer scholarships and some don't. So again, you can ask me at the end and I can share the link or I can have a look for you. So moving on to employability, here you've got some rankings around students once they've graduated and getting jobs, how do they do? So firstly, you can see that Warwick is the 6th most targeted university by graduate employers. So every year there is a report that comes out, and again, I can send you this link, but it's called the Graduate Market. And it's done by High Flyers Research. And what these people do is they go and speak to the top 100 employers in the UK and they ask them, who is working for you? What universities did they study at? Why do you like them? And then they rank them. So this year, Warwick was 6th out of the hundreds of universities in the UK. So it's really fantastic to know that Warwick students do really well once they graduate if they want to stay and work in the UK. They're also ranked 9th in the UK for career after 15 months. So that's meaning graduates are getting good jobs and career jobs within 15 months of graduation. So that's also really fantastic. And it's testament to our careers team who will support you throughout your studies at the University of Warwick. You've got some examples here on the right of the screen of big companies that students might go to work for when they graduate, but we also do have a lot of links in industry for things like internships. So if you want to do an internship whilst you're studying, then you can do, whether you're undergraduate or postgraduate. You can find some time to perhaps do a week or 2 internship in vacation time if you think you can balance your time well. I really encourage you to do that, and our careers team can help you to find an internship. Okay, so then outside of work, you also might feel the need for a bit of support, because obviously you're going to have to balance your studies with perhaps some part-time work or internships, social life, everything else that the modern world will throw at you. So we do have a lot of support for you at the University of Warwick to make sure that you have the best time possible. So that includes a personal tutor and an academic tutor. So they are there for any questions or concerns you might have. You will get their contact details and their office hours, and we foster a really welcoming and approachable relationship that you can have with your lecturers and the professional staff at Warwick. We don't want any barriers to be there, because we want to make sure that you feel like you can speak to the people who are teaching you, to make sure that you feel supported at every step. So we also have our wellbeing support services. So this could be for something as simple as homesickness or culture shock when you first get to the UK, to more serious mental health issues or perhaps exam stress. So we do have group workshops. There are online resources as well, or you could even book a one-to-one in person or online with our wellbeing support team, and they are there throughout your time whilst you study with us at the University of Warwick. Okay, so perhaps a few minutes early, but I have finished with my slides now. Do feel free to scan the QR code. It will take you through to our international student web pages, where there's a whole load of useful links and information. But I did say I would also share some information for you as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can look at the Q&A and see what questions we've got. Okay, so the first one, sorry to hear that you weren't able to apply for the scholarship. Unfortunately, now it's closed. It would be too late. If you'd have maybe asked a few months ago, I might have been able to resolve the issue, but sadly it is now closed. You would need to wait and apply next year. Okay, next question. How flexible is the course structure in the first year? Good question. So if that's obviously for undergraduate, it depends on the course. So for example, engineering is really flexible. But then a science, perhaps like physics or computer science, is much less flexible. They're going to give you all the core modules that they want you to know. So it really depends on the course that you would like to study and how flexible it can be. The next question, would you recommend on-campus or off-campus living for postgraduates? That's a good question. I personally would recommend living on campus, and that's because, like I said, everything is there for you. And what I didn't mention before is that everything is included. So your utility bills would be included in the rent that you pay, your internet and Wi-Fi would be included, your insurance would be included. Whereas if you live off campus, not only do you have the short commute to and from campus, you would also have to sort out all your bills separately. And I think when you're only here for a year, that might be a bit bothersome to try and organise, but it's completely up to you. The next question, what's something students love about Warwick that doesn't usually show up in brochures or webinars? Oh, that's a really good question. I think it all goes in the brochures though, because we do ask our current students. They really help us with our web pages and our prospectuses, because we like to get across that student voice. But I think probably the campus comes up a lot. They really, really love being at a campus university where they don't have to share all of their spaces with other city people and city workers or school kids and tourists, because the space on campus is just for you. I think probably the social life as well. So obviously we don't put that in the prospectuses too much, because there's lots of parents that like to look at it, but it is a really good social life if you want to get involved in that, if you're at the University of Warwick. So that's a really nice question as well. Is there a strong sense of community among students, or does it depend on the department? I think it depends on the student. So if you're someone that wants to find a community, you absolutely will. So like I said, you've got those societies and sports clubs, and many people find their best friends that way. Some people get less involved in societies and sports clubs, which is completely fine, and they become really close friends with their housemates or perhaps peers on their course. So it really depends. Like, you can most certainly find a community if you want to at Warwick. Are professors approachable outside of lectures? Can students actually get to know them? Yes, so like I mentioned, we really hope to foster like that good working relationship with the academics and lecturers at Warwick. They will give you their contact details. You know, you can quite often, if you've got time and they've got time, perhaps just before a lecture or after a lecture, hang around and have a 5-minute chat if you want to. But they'll also, you know, organise like guest lectures to come in, and there'll be different ways of you engaging with them. So I definitely encourage you to build those relationships with the academics and the professors if you want to. Could you share the link about scholarships for masters? Yes, so the course you mentioned, International Trade and Supply Chain Management, is for WMG. So bear with me a second, everyone, while I just get the link for those scholarships. I think you might be okay to still apply for those, actually. So WMG is done on a kind of like a 4-weekly basis. So I'll just find the link for those. Here we go. Yeah, it looks like it's still open. Obviously, you would need to apply for that course first. So I'm going to type the answer and hopefully, oh, I can send it privately, but I'll put it publicly just in case there's other people that want it as well. So send. Yeah, so different masters scholarships are still open. So like I say, do feel free to ask. And I'm just going to say which ones I've answered already so I don't get confused. Okay. Right, here we go. I don't know. Is accommodation guaranteed for second and third years? No. So second year, you could certainly apply to stay on campus, but you would need to do it really early. So if you, for example, are coming to Warwick this autumn, you would arrive on campus at the end of September, and by November, you would need to have decided, okay, I want to stay on campus next year and apply. They hold back a few hundred rooms for second year students every year. So you could do that if you wanted to, but usually after your first year of living on campus, you will have made friends and you tend to want to move into, you know, one of the local areas that I was talking about. But yeah, there is an option to stay on campus for your second year. Third year, not usually. The only way you could live on campus normally in your final year is if you went off of campus and did a year abroad, for example, or you did a whole year work experience placement. Then we tend to keep a few rooms back for those students that are coming back from having a year out. Do you recommend postgraduate students to recruiters or guide them for recruitment? Oh, okay, so for like employers, yes. So depending on the department you're with, they'll all have either one member of staff or several members of staff, depending on how big the department is, that can help you with careers guidance and speaking to employers. You also have the careers team, who at Warwick works for all of the students and all the departments. So they do the much bigger events and all the online resources that we have. But then you also have your people in each department that do all the bespoke and tailored events that are just for your subject. So for example, the business school, because it's one of the biggest departments, they have several people, and you'll have your specialists in consulting and marketing and finance and entrepreneurship. Engineering, because it's a smaller department, you only have maybe 1 or 2 people working in the careers department, but they'll have their specialisms, you know, whether it's automotive or mechanical or electronic. So yeah, there's different people in each department that you can book an appointment with, and they will help put you in touch with employers or alumni perhaps. Yeah, and we also have something online called My Advantage. It's just for current students, but when you have your login, when you come to Warwick, you'll be able to log in and you can see hundreds of different vacancies for either part-time work, graduate work, internships, summer work. So there's lots of different opportunities that they put onto this portal that you can then apply for as well. Senna, all scholarships not definitely closed for postgraduates. Undergraduates, yes, 100% they closed at the end of March, I think it was, and they're being scored now. So there's no way that you can put an application in for this year, I'm afraid, if you're looking for undergraduate scholarship. Are transfers from Turkish unis allowed for, I'm guessing that's engineering courses? No. Warwick is quite strict on things like transfers. It would usually be such an exceptional circumstance if you managed to get a transfer from a UK university. I don't think that they would consider it from a university overseas. I've worked at Warwick for 6 years and I've never had a transfer agreed. So usually you would be encouraged to apply from the first year. These are great questions, everyone. Thanks so much. Okay, yes, and I'm sorry, I've just seen the reply from Senna. I will note down your email and send you over what you can do for next year if you want to apply for scholarships. No problem. Okay. Any other questions? I think we've got another 10 minutes. I will also just put how do I share my email?
You can use the chat box, Kaylee.
Oh, okay, thank you. Webinar chat. It says hosts and panelists.
If you could just choose the everyone option.
I don't seem to have that. I can see hosts and panelists, or I can see your names in it. Shall I just send it to you and you can share it for me?
Of course, of course.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to give you all my email. Feel free to send me any questions you've got. Or, you know, we can book in like a one-to-one Zoom chat another time. If you've got lots of questions, that's fine as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the great presentation, Kaylee. It was very informative for the attendees, and we had a lot of questions. You answered them all. Thank you for your answers as well.
Thank you.
And also I would like to thank the participants in Turkish too. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. University of Warwick ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için chat kısmında paylaşılmış olan mail adresinden Kaylee'ye her zaman ulaşabilirsiniz. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you very much again, Kaylee. It was a pleasure to have you in IFT Talks.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye-bye.